What is up, everybody? We are here on the trade deadline edition of the Lasagna Show. What a fucking day it was. Holy shit. We got Connor McGuire over here ready to talk some ball, ready to talk some trades, ready to talk some Yankees. Started the day with a game, 7 runs early. Stroman gets up a few. Then we got trades flying, rain delay. Everyone's camped looking at Twitter, waiting to see, what the hell's about to happen. Um, and here we are, and we are doing it. So what do you think about the trade deadline?
It's good to see you, JL. I'm so pumped, but I was so nervous there for so long, just waiting. I think we all were. And so it's good to have a result, and it's good to start kind of thinking about the nuts and bolts of how this is going to work now that we have, hopefully, the pieces we need to at least make a run. I think a lot of people, even a lot of the most pessimistic Yankee fans I talk to are at least mildly enthusiastic about what's happened. So fun to talk about this. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it went from, people being disappointed that the bullpen wasn't addressed to, getting a piece, getting another piece. And then, it turns out the bullpen is now a strength and it's pretty deep. So that's pretty exciting. What was your favorite position player ad? And what was your favorite ad from today in terms of the pitching?
I mean, I think you have to go with Ryan McMahon for position player just because we've been lucky enough to already kind of see what he can do. I don't think anyone is under the delusion that he is going to be like an all-star level guy consistently, at least. But he complements our roster so nicely, and it's such a refreshing thing to have a sure-handed glove over there and an arm, plus his contact skills and the way we can kind of match him up against certain pitching where we've previously had weaknesses. So for me, it's run away. He's the only legit starter we've added. 100%. Starting position player, right? And the other guys are great too. I just think the impact, you can't measure it, any other different way with Ryan McMahon, plus his Irish, which I love, Irish American, which is apparently not as popular or interesting to people as being Italian American. I don't know what that's all about. But anyway, in terms of pitchers, man, I think I mentioned it on the last live. I've had my eyes on David Bednar even when he was struggling last year. The price went up, but not a ton. And I just think he's such a great live arm, and he's going to bring a lot of intensity to that pen. And hopefully, and we'll get into this later, I'm curious to know your thoughts or your first thoughts, at least, on how we're going to be using him. And then the other guys, too. I mean, you kind of got what you wanted there, JL. Like, you got guys come out of the pen that are throwing absolute heat. But the only real concern is maybe a little bit about, the fellow we got from the Giants is a bit of a location issue, but he's throwing like 102 miles an hour at times. So I think you kind of put up with that, get him in the lab with Blake. And I think, the sky's the limit for someone like that, especially given the fact that we have a need not only for back end guys, but guys that can come in as log innings. Having him as kind of a swing wildcard guy, maybe coming in to put out a fire or depending on the matchup, face a guy who, we like against him.
Yeah.
It gives Boone a lot of tools. Whether he fucks it up is a different story.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a lot to choose from. A lot of tools have been added to the belt. I think, starting with the position players, like you said, I think McMahon has fit in flawlessly. His defense, compared to what we were watching with Vivas and Peraza, DJ, that was there last year. You had Jazz over there. I mean, it's night and day. I mean, what McMahon is doing at third base, he looks smooth. His hands are good. His range is solid. He's got a really strong arm. We saw that in one of the first games he played, and he's contributing at the plate. Some people were concerned that, he's maybe a Colorado merchant. But he's shown that he's a solid hitter, in general. He doesn't need Colorado or altitude to contribute. And he's doing this thing. And sometimes it's a little scary when you get a guy coming from a small market over to the Bronx. Obviously, the pressure is different, and, the situation changes completely. Everyone's watching the stage, the lights are bright on the big stage, and he stepped up big time, had that walk-off hit the other day. So that's phenomenal. I do like Slater. I do like the Slater ad because of how much he pounds left-handed pitching. Dominguez playing left field, he's going to be there against right-handed pitchers, but we are at a little bit of a, disadvantage against, like a Skubal or something when you have Dominguez flip to the right side. If you can, we haven't really been super supportive of platooning Dominguez. I think he should still get mostly unlimited run because he needs to, get better hitting right-handed and face more lefties and get better at that. But if you can plug a Slater in there against the School Bowl and he makes the difference in a playoff series, it could be, an invaluable type of ad. So I'm pretty excited to watch him face lefties going forward. But the lineup is just more, it's a lot more versatile. It feels like we have more adults in the room rather than a Peraza, Vivas, some young guys.
Yeah.
Trying to find their way a little bit. It feels like we have established major leaguers who are, they've been around the block a little bit. They're either good at one thing or two things. Rosario not being a great overall defender in general, but he can play a lot of different positions in the pinch. He can play outfield. He can play short. He can play, infield. So, if something happens where you need a guy, you can plug him in there. He also has some speed. We got Caballero from the Rays, good defensive infielder. He's got good speed. I think he leads the American League in stolen bases, something like that. But he steals a lot of bags, good defensively. So, feels like we got adults in the room. We have some established big leaguers, which is really going to help in terms of, these guys not having to prove themselves as much because they are what they are. They've been around the block a little bit. So that's definitely nice in terms of lineup flexibility. And then with this pitching, Bednar was a guy that had been talked about a lot. His 2024 was really rough. And as a fantasy owner of his in 2024, I certainly did not
forget. No one cares.
I say it every time. Nobody gives a fuck about your fantasy.
They don't. They do not.
Talking about it. Stop talking about it.
But let me jump in really quick. I love everything you said. And the number one thing I like is, well, I want to tag on to the idea that we have adults in the room now, which is obviously true compared to where we were. And not only that, but we're bringing in guys that have major league experience, but also they're not going to have a big enough ego or be so dependent on playing every single day where we can't get the most out of them without playing them every single day. Right. I think Ryan McMahon is probably going to he's going to solidify the position, which I like. I think third base is important enough defensively where I'd rather not have a platoon there, right? If we can avoid it. But, you mentioned Slater, you mentioned the other guys we got. I mean, to a man, I know they've had experience playing like virtually every day, but I can't foresee any kind of lack of humility getting in the way of guys playing 2-3 times a week at times, depending on those things, and having that affect their mentality, their ego, and their gameplay. So that to me is as much about personality as it is about matchups and numbers. And so from what I've gathered and what I've kind of like quickly, deferred to other fan bases on and had conversations around, these guys are all going to not only are they going to fit in, they really are motivated to contribute even in small ways and just be part of a hopefully a team with bigger things ahead for them than the ones they left. So that's positive. I think, if you have more to say on this, that's awesome. I feel like the number one thing I'm hearing about and even seeing right now in the chat that people want to talk about is the lack of a starter the lack of a starter addition at this point. So maybe talk to me about what your thoughts are on that, negative, positive, but also in light of the fact that we kind of know what we're rocking with. What's the rotation going to look like even when we get Heel back? And is that really going to be as big of a hole as we think? It might be for now, but the way I think about it, just to quickly add it, I'm asking you, but I think in 2 weeks we're going to forget about that. I would have loved to have a Sandy. I'd love to have either of those two Miami pitchers. Obviously, Joe Ryan, I would have probably broken a few rules around selling the farm on that one. Yeah. Especially when keeping away from the Red Sox, but I think we're good there. Yeah. Having said that, I think people scoff at it all the time. Oh, like Cashman's going to make excuses and say Luis Gil is he's effectively our deadline acquisition. I think when you look up, we had a bigger need in the bullpen, and I think Gil is a real force coming back, and he's going to solidify things and make a lot of guys, take the pressure off for a lot of dudes in the rotation right now. We're relying on Stroman way more than we're going to in the future, barring injury. So,
I think just going back real quick to the position player thing, you've seen Rosario being like the hype man off the bench, and he hasn't even played that much. You see the quotes from McMahon and Slater coming over here. They understand their role. They understand, what the Yankees represent. They understand where they're coming from and what they're about to be expected to do. So I feel like, adults in the room, they understand their role. They're ready for what's about to come. And I think they're good at what they're going to do. Like Slater, I think he has some really good numbers as a pinch hitter.
Yeah.
McMahon, playing every day third base. He's one of the best defensive third basemen in the league, and if he can, offer a 700 plus OPS, that's going to be phenomenal. So really excited about that group. But going back to the starter situation, I thought Merrill Kelly was a good fit. I don't know what the ask probably was for him. He ends up going to Texas, which is not ideal because they have a pretty strong rotation with Eovaldi, DeGrom. Now they're adding Kelly, who's he pitched really well in the World Series a couple of years ago, so he's October tested. So is Eovaldi. DeGrom is nasty all the time. So a team like Texas is going to definitely be tough going forward if they end up being who we face in the playoffs. But I thought Edward Cabrera was more attainable than Sandy Alcantara was. I thought it would maybe cost less. So I was hoping for maybe Kelly or Cabrera. I don't think Cease was really super realistic because I know the Yankees like controllable pieces. I thought maybe Kelly being a rental, that maybe the price would be a little bit less.
Yeah.
But it ended up turning out to be something they weren't interested in.
I think on Cease, I think the one thing you're going to hear from people who are complaining about how it all went down, and it's going to be, I think it's pretty valid, is that Cease would have been the lane for us. And the Yankees have shown the last 4 deadlines that they're unwilling to trade for rentals. And for the most part, or give up major pieces for rentals.
Right.
So like you could debate whether you think that's prudent or not. But that's certainly, I think if they really wanted Cease, they could have gotten Cease. I think Edouard would have required a massive haul, as would have Sandy. And so I think that's kind of how it broke out. And I think the Cashman and the front office ultimately decided they could add more value for less going up to the bullpen. And
if you look at right, and like you mentioned before, I mean, if you look at a potential playoff rotation, it's probably Fried. Then they'll probably go Luis Hill second to break up the lefties, and then Rodon to start game 3. Game 4, you might have to go with a Will Warren, which will be a little bit scary because he's not really battle tested yet. We know he has some trouble in first innings, so that'll be something to watch there. But they also have Schlittler, who throws a billion. I don't know what his role is going to be. Yarbrough's coming back, which is savvy veteran, dead fish lefty, soft contact kind of guy. When he's on, really good. When he's not on and hitting the spots, he can get really ugly fast, which we've seen a couple times this year with Yarbrough. But they have, it might be a situation where they felt like they didn't want to give up a Spencer Jones or a Dominguez or something for a Joe Ryan, and just completely blow their load on the starter. Because maybe they're comfortable with what they got. I mean, I know it's kind of an underwhelming phrase and kind of not an exciting perspective, but they have, if Luis Hill can figure things out in this 2-month window we have before October starts. I mean, you go and do a 5-game, 7-game playoff series with Fried, Hill, and Rodon going in your first 3 games. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. I mean, that's a really solid group. And then, for a game 4, maybe you can go with a Will Warren and you can piggyback him with a Yarbrough. Maybe a Schlittler comes in and gets 3 innings or something like that. But it feels like they have some depth there that they're cool with. But like you said earlier, the bullpen was the hole that needed to be addressed the most aggressively. You couldn't just stand pat and say, we're getting Cruz back and we're getting Leiter Jr. back and we're just going to be good with that. Like, no, you needed to add arms. Bednar throws up to 97-ish, so that's really good. He's got a good curveball as well. Camilo Doval, holy shit, man! This is a guy I've wanted for several years.
This is what you wanted by I mean, definitionally, all you wanted were guys that threw hard.
So, I need gas. I mean, look what
boy Brian was listening.
Yeah, look what the Padres did. I mean, they added a Mason Miller. You've got a couple other guys in there that throw 98 plus. So I mean, they're coming at you with 4 or 5 guys throwing a hundo. I mean, that's where the league is at now. Soft stuff you eventually start to figure out within the 7-game series when you see guys often. High end velo is always hard to hit, and that's kind of the approach that a lot of these bullpens go with. The Dodgers did it last year when they went for Kopech throwing 100, and we saw him in the World Series, even though he didn't pitch that great. Something that's kind of been missing in our bullpen. We got some guys that will touch 96, 97, like De Los Santos. Loizaga has been throwing harder, but he's not really a swing and miss guy. He's more of a sinker, soft contact guy. But to get a Camilo Doval in there, a guy who can touch triple digits consistently with a wipeout slider, that is definitely something we've been missing, and I'm super excited to watch it. He has had some hiccups in the past, somewhat recently, where he's kind of had to figure things out. Control can be a problem, like you mentioned earlier. But he's going to get in the lab with Matt Blake. They're going to hook him up to the track man. They're going to see what the spin looks like and all this stuff, what the release point's doing, how can they adjust his mechanics, how can they get him to locate better, what are the pitches he needs to be utilizing the most in high leverage situations. So it's going to be, I think it's a good thing to get him in the room with Matt Blake, a guy with raw power like that coming out with that fastball. I think it's going to be super exciting. It's just going to be interesting to see where they slot him. I did see a quote before we got on that said Boone was going to still have Devin Williams be the closer, which is expected. But
I don't trust that.
Bedner's probably going to be a 7th or 8th inning guy. I'm thinking he'll be the 8th inning guy. He could be in the mix with 7th and 8th with Weaver. I think it just depends on what you like. I mean, Bedner's coming in with a little bit harder of a fastball and a curveball. Weaver's coming in a little bit less velocity on the heater, but has a really good changeup. So, if you need to get a right-hander out that's going to chase a breaking ball, maybe go Bedner. If you need to get a lefty out who might, chase an away changeup, maybe go Weaver. They've also got, you got Tim Hill in there. Yarborough's coming soon. I don't know if Hedrick's still going to be around with how deep this bullpen looks, but he could be a 3rd lefty. So so they added more lefties, they added more options late in the game. They've added more solidified, proven relievers. I like Bird a lot too. The peripherals look better than the actual numbers. If you kind of dig down a little bit, you can see soft contact, high ground ball rate. He gets a lot of swing and miss with that slider. So
two things are working in Bird's favor. He's leaving Coors Field and he's getting with Matt Blake. And I think
100%.
we've seen enough of a track record there on both those fronts to be excited. And I'm really honestly impressed with the consensus take on Bird from Yankee fans. I think people are taking a really mature and knowledgeable angle on him, and it's amazing to me. And at a time where we hadn't really gotten the whole deadline across the finish line, and people were pumped, I was like kind of like refreshed and relieved by that. But I
wanted 2 guys. I wanted 2, maybe 3 guys, and they got the 2. They got the Bedner. They got the Bird. I was like, I need a 3rd somewhere in there. And right at the fucking bell, Brian Cashman pulls Camilo Duvall out of his ass. I was drinking a mixed berry smoothie at the time, and I almost spit it across the fucking room. That's how excited I was for Camilo Duvall. So if Camilo Duvall has 1 fan only, it is me right here. So I will be ordering the jersey quickly, and then go ahead and continue what you're going to say.
You don't tell me what to do. No. The thing I find the most interesting at this time of year is people in the industry tweeting things that no one asked to hear about, like John Heyman talking about how the Yankees would only deal Spencer Jones for Paul Skeens.
Yeah, I saw Bernard mention that in the chat. Skeens was never getting moved, so why say that?
Yeah, it's like, what? Yeah. And I think these guys are like, they're more in the business of like kind of like just getting attention than they are like reporting information.
Yeah,
and certain guys are better than others. The
Yankees get clicks, they get engagement. It gets Twitter moving and stuff like that. So if you drop a Yankees and a Skeens in the same tweet, people are going to lose their damn minds.
It gets you thinking like, oh boy, Spencer Jones better be like the second coming of the group. And it's like, no, we can't take that for granted and then evaluate what's going on with the prospect. It's these trades. I'm sure there's. For every trade that happens, there's like 17 that gets kicked around for weeks and weeks and weeks. Into this, because a lot of times these conversations are continuations of what's been going on for months between these GMs. We assume that it's like, that they're acting like we do, and they're researching things last minute and dishing like ideas at the very I better get something done now. I can guarantee that all the ones that came down to the wire were about waiting and seeing what else is going to happen, because it is like a domino thing in terms of certain moves being contingent on others working out. Right. So you have a million different things that have to fall for all teams involved. And then you get things done because there's pressure and there's deadline. But they're not cramming these. They're not like deciding last minute. These are all, it's like an NFL draft situation. We have a big board and you know what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. So the idea that there's information coming out about what the Yankees would and wouldn't, do to let go of Spencer Jones is just asinine, total farcical bullshit. And I just feel like next time I see John Heyman walking around Yankee Stadium, I might let him know that. I don't know. He's had a tough go of it, though.
You tower over him. I'm sure he'll be cowering in fear.
He's not nearly as short as Ken Rosenthal, though. That guy is a midge.
He's a small male. Bernard is mentioning how Heyman went crazy with Keith McPherson
Yeah.
when he interviewed him on the phone. So we know Heyman's got a little bit of a wild side to him.
He might have been on Ambien during that call because we know that Keith goes on at like 2 a.m. So
yeah,
yeah, might have been other things involved.
Yeah, Heyman is a little bit of a crazy guy, but I mean, I don't.
It
would have taken no worries.
Let's shout some folks out in the chat. We got a lot of people raising some interesting ideas, but also just let them know we're keeping an eye on their stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. I saw Aaron Boone was in the chat. He asked us what our grades were for the deadline overall. You want to go first on that one?
I will say an A.
Wow. Okay. All right, man.
See, not A plus. I'm going with an A. A plus would have been Mason Miller, Ryan Helsley, Doval. 3 or 4 guys that throw a billion. Maybe a little bit expecting too much, but I think for what was available, the amount of prospects Cashman didn't give up, all 7 of our top prospects are still intact.
It's such a headline that
so
no one's going to talk about that because no one cares about guys that are a year or 2 away. But that is such a huge aspect of this deadline for Cashman.
Yep.
Like there's no one. I mean, every year usually there's hey, you got to give up guys to get guys, but at least they weren't our top 2 guys. We didn't give up any of the guys in our top 5. I think the highest prospect we gave up was for Bednar, our number 8 prospect. And I mean,
it was I think Flores the catcher, right?
Yeah, and we're deep at catcher. We always have been. The last 6 years we have been, and so
100%.
Yeah, which makes similar to like DBs in Seattle or something. There's a bit of a positive shine around Yankees catchers and development system we have. So I think we're getting a nice premium back for catchers we've moved the last 2 years, which I like a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they've moved a lot of catchers. We got the what's his face in Boston, and you got another one in Miami, contributing to the major league level.
Yeah, the better they do, the better haul we get back. Yeah, it's all positive.
It's catchers university, basically. So it's nice to, be deep there. And Escara didn't get moved, which a lot of people thought was going to be, a catcher that could probably be a pretty serviceable offensive catcher. Be good enough defensively. He does frame well. So, it's kind of surprising to see that he didn't get moved.
It surprised me a lot because it kind of feels like his agent probably wanted him to get moved because the idea of him having any playing time going forward is going to be injury dependent. Didn't he? I mean, he was spelling some guys at third base. That's done. We got Ben Rice.
I mean, he's in AAA
he's hitting
now,
and being our. I think. Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. So he's not going to see. I mean, unless there's knock on wood, someone might get hurt or something. But
yeah, well, if he got moved, he'd probably be on a major league roster somewhere, right? So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. No, he's in AAA. But he had that one game where he wasn't blocking. I think it was when he caught Max Fried. A couple of balls got away that he should have blocked. Defensively, there's a little bit left to be desired there. I think he's more of an offensive catcher, but. Once
don't love that for a backup.
once the robot umps come in, though, some of these frame only guys are going to be maybe a little bit extinct there because it's not really going to matter that much. So definitely interesting that Escara did stick around, but I mean the fact that 1 through 7 of our top prospects all stayed is huge, and I think you probably didn't see a Joe Ryan or a Sandy Alcantara or some of those high-end guys like a Mason Miller because you weren't going to move a Cam Schlittler or a Spencer Jones or a Lombard Jr. Like the Yankees just weren't comfortable doing that. And to an extent, I agree. I probably would not have moved Lombard or Spencer Jones. LaGrange throwing 102. Hard to move him too. There were some rumblings that he might be involved in the Bednar deal, and I was like, do you really got to give up the dude throwing 102 who's like 6'8" for Bednar? I mean, I feel like you can give less than that and still get a deal done. And they were able to do that. So I was very excited to not see LaGrange in that deal. So we can retain him.
And I have zero insider knowledge on this front, but I have to believe, or at least it seems possible, that a lot of that came down to Cashman being willing, or at least to presenting a front of being willing to let guys go.
Yeah.
And to let deals fall through the cracks and really driving a hard bargain, which is why you saw them come in with a larger than average number of deals at the end there. And that's entirely based on conjecture and intuition for me, but it just feels like that happens often with him. And you got it. A lot of people don't want Cashman in the seat anymore. He's been there for over 20 years, and I think that showed up. I think his tenure and experience certainly is an advantage of his and ours. And, I have my own criticisms of him that I, keep to myself sometimes, but you gotta give him a little bit of credit. This is usually the time where we do,
Oh yeah. I mean, I started calling him my real biological father after he got Juan Soto, because I didn't think, there were so many rumblings about that. And I was like, oh my God, if he gets this done, I'll never, shit on him again. And then, it gets to the deadline last year, and it was very underwhelming with just adding Mark Leiter Jr. to that bullpen when we needed more reinforcements. And, it turned out to be Nestor Cortez in a game 1 of our World Series, in a situation where maybe Tim Hill should have been in there, but there were some moments where, Luke Weaver couldn't get swing and miss because of a sac fly. There were times where you needed that guy to come in and blow in a hundo to blow guys away and, get you out of an inning, get you out of a tough jam. And I feel like they didn't address that enough last deadline in a season where you had potentially only 1 year of Juan Soto. So it's refreshing to see him come back this deadline, understand the urgency, understand that the American League is wide open right now. And by saying the American League is wide open does not mean the American League is weak. It's not saying, the Yankees are just going to steamroll over teams.
I think
the American League is very deep.
Yeah.
It's very deep right now. The Astros got better. The Blue Jays got better. The Tigers added a couple pieces in there. The Texas Rangers got better. So, it's going to be a bloodbath. The Mariners got really good, adding some really good players. They got Eugenio Suarez back. They added Naylor. I think they added someone else, but I can't remember. But, it's a very deep American League, but there's not one team that stands, head and shoulders above all the others. It's going to be very competitive. It's going to be, which is why I say it's wide open. So if he didn't address the gaping holes in that bullpen going forward, it almost felt like the season was over.
Oh yeah,
because you're not going to be able to compete with the Blue Jays. You're not going to
have guys getting hurt. Honestly, at this point, either have guys that didn't belong in the big leagues pitching, or have guys getting injured.
And
it's not a luxury. It's not a luxury.
And Cruz was coming back. Leiter Jr. is coming back. Yarbrough's coming back. You didn't want that to be it's like a deadline acquisition type situation. We wanted
Cruz, but that's
you
tough.
need to you need to get those guys back. You need to add to it. And so Cashman, I love that he understood he had the sense of urgency. He understood the assignment. He not only got Bird, who's going to, I think he plays really well in Yankee Stadium, where you don't want guys hitting fly balls. You want ground balls. I know Volpe's been a little scary over that short, but you need guys who are going to come in and keep the ball out of the air, especially the lefties. We're trying to pull down the line to, short porch. So Bird's going to get swing and missing ground balls. You got Cruz coming back that throws bowling ball splits. You got Bednar in there who has had a good year. Also attacks the top of the strike zone well with 97, which is what I like late in the count. And then you got Duvall coming in there throwing a billion. They're going to make sure he's, everything's going good with him, but he throws hard as hell. He has a good slider. He can come in and get you wipe out stuff if you're in a tough jam, if you're in a situation where you got to hold on to a small lead. 7 through 9, it could be a situation where maybe it's tied after 9 and you don't want to go to Devin Williams yet. Now you have a group of guys who you can put in there to maybe save Devin Williams for a save situation. So Cashman understood the assignment. He addressed the gaping hole, which was the biggest need in the bullpen, which was the biggest need for this team to be able to compete down the stretch. And, it's a breath of fresh air, and it just makes me appreciate what he did and give me a sense of hope going forward as to maybe he is kind of understanding the reputation he's gotten a little bit where, prospect hug, don't want to give up anybody, just going to go dumpster dive for a couple of relievers and call it a day. He didn't just dumpster dive today. He went out and got guys who were going to make an impact. And that gives me hope going forward. So I think some of the heat on Brian Cashman some of the heat's got to calm down a little bit, because he did a lot this deadline to not only address, some of the deficiencies in the lineup against certain matchups, but he also addressed the biggest hole, the biggest question on this team. And he did it, without giving up his top 7 prospects. So tip of the cap to my real biological father for doing a hell of a job. Because I was this close to getting real fucking sad there. And he pulled the rabbit out of his hat. So tip of the cap to him.
It's the style of GM that he's been his entire career. I think you have ebbs and flows and surprises over the short term, but long term, he's no Dave Dombrowski. He's shown that he doesn't want to part with controllable long-term premium minor league talent. And I think his job security lends itself to that kind of an approach, because until something drastic happens and they miss the playoffs 2 years in a row, I just don't see him moving off of that, moving off of GM.
Right.
And so,
it's not happening.
I think he wants to win this year as badly as any GM wants to win.
Right.
But I think that he has a red line on certain guys, and I think the value add would have to be so clear in our favor for him to move a guy like Spencer Jones or George Lombard
Mm-hmm.
Jr. And I think you just kind of dodged a bullet with your hard throwing guy down there in Double-A not getting moved. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was
It
very
just
much on the table, but I think,
Yeah, it just felt
credit
like
to them.
giving up Lagrange in the Bednar deal was overkill. Like I know Bednar has a little bit of control, but he's not going to be the closer. Maybe he will be next year.
Well, let's get into
Um,
that. You don't think here? Forget the titles and the ego and all the ways the Boone's going to be dancing around the questions for the next couple of weeks. How many saves do you see Bednar finishing the season with?
I think it's going to come down to
Like, is it
their.
0? Is it 11?
No, he might get a couple. I'd say I don't know, maybe 5 or less. But
I'm taking the over on that, and I'll tell you why.
okay,
I think that we like Williams. Williams has been a guy for a long time, but
I wouldn't say I like Williams. I mean, I kind of do. He scares
we
the fuck
liked
out of me.
Williams when we were at this stage that we are now with Bednar. We liked Williams a lot.
He scares me. He scares me.
And we're coming off a pretty bad memory, but over the last 2 months has been pretty solid.
Mm-hmm. He has been.
The point is the guy. I think he's only got a season and a half of actually being the nominal closer for a team, or maybe 2.5 seasons with Hader there and walking for so long. Bednar has been closing for I think 3.5 seasons.
Right.
And so he has that, you call it pedigree, you call it tenure, whatever you want to call it. I think if there's a guy that fits that, if there's ever going to be a guy who just takes the title away, it's going to be a guy like him. I don't think that Williams has a better chance of fighting him off entirely. I think the best Williams can hope for is to be part of that committee. I don't think we're going to see what we're hearing out of the team right now. I think what we're going to end up seeing is a little different. I think Bednar, and I know that you just look, we're kind of deciding this on the go. We'll see. We'll see next with the games. But personally, I've got a lot of confidence that Bednar ends up being our postseason closer.
I could definitely see it. I mean, having that experience as a closer definitely means something for sure. Something Joel Sherman was talking about, and I'm not totally discrediting that idea or discrediting Bednar's past as a closer. But some interesting things Sherman was talking about earlier today was, look, you're going from Pittsburgh high leverage to Yankees high leverage now. You're going to go from nobody's watching your games to now everybody's watching your games. You're going to go from empty ballpark to now it's 45,000 who are loud and pissed off if you blow this shit. So it's one of those situations where we might have to wait and see how he's going to react to going from, Pirates atmosphere to Yankees playoff atmosphere. His stuff plays. I mean, there's no question he's got the stuff. So I don't see that being a problem at all. He just got to execute. He got sent down to the minors earlier this season and quote unquote had to figure things out. So I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's, leaning into some of his better pitches more consistently and utilizing them more rather than going to, some secondary stuff that might not be as good. So it's going to be interesting to see how, it could be mechanical, it could be mental, who knows what it could be. But you just don't want that to flare up in the Bronx. And, there's going to be that time where we're going to, hold our breath a little bit and hope he can get off to a good start as a Yankee and not have a situation where like Devin Williams, where he came in and, the first couple weeks that he was doing his whole closing thing, it was horrible.
Yeah. You know what I'd like? I'd like to put all three of them together. I want Bednar's fastball. Devin Williams is breaking stuff and change up. And I want Luke Weaver's head.
His mental is big time.
Yeah.
His mental is big time, which I like. That's why I like Weaver a lot. And earlier in the season, I was saying if Weaver's healthy, I would prefer him to be the closer because he's done it. He was the closer in the playoffs last year. He has that bulldog mentality, like you said. His fastball has been, I haven't looked at Baseball Savant. I haven't looked at Fangraphs. I don't know what the grades are in his fastball, but it seems like it's not as good this year as it was last year. There were times last year where Weaver was getting up to 97. I even saw 98 a couple times. So if he's got that with how good his changeup is, that is a high-end reliever, especially with his mental approach to, attacking hitters and coming in on those close game moments and being fearless. So, that was my preference, but his heater just hasn't really come around to what we saw last year late. I don't know if it's a workload thing. I don't know if it's, maybe he turns it up later in the year. I don't know. But, I think they're loyal right now to Williams as the closer, and I don't think they're going to go off of that unless he just catastrophically implodes for a series of like 3 to 5 save situations and you're looking at a clean inning from Bednar, a clean inning from Bird, a clean inning from Weaver, and the one shit inning is from Williams. Like if that happens consistently, I think they have to, look in the mirror and be like, okay, Williams has been a problem. This is something we can't continue to do in a playoff chase. We can't have him do this in the playoffs. Maybe go back to a Weaver. Maybe have Bednar be that guy.
How about this? Just the fact that we can mix and match and keep these guys fresh. Keep them fresh.
Yes.
So that like last year, I thought I was worried Luke Weaver's arm is going to fall off. As great as he was pitching, it's like we've used this guy so much, and he as well as he played, I kept holding my breath, thinking like, when's the shoe going to drop? Yeah.
And, I like Luke Weaver a lot. I still think.
Well, all of them. I think
he might be the best closing option right now. But I mean,
it's going to be Boone's time to shine to effectively utilize these guys. So if you get nervous, if you're getting tight just thinking about that, I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, we're giving him a lot to work with here, and he's not going to be able to just be like, took
away Nestor. We took him off the table. God. So anyway, by the way, I think we made it about 23 minutes into the show before we invoked Nestor Freddie Freeman. So credit to us.
He's going to San Diego. He's going to San Diego.
I saw that. I think he's going
to be facing the Dodgers some more.
Yeah, I think. Oh God, I think he's going to love it there, though. I miss Nestor, man. I miss Nestor.
Yeah, I don't at all.
No,
he was. He had moments where he was good. I think.
Dude, he had a full-on All-Star season, bro.
Yeah, no, 100%. He had moments where he was, a really nice piece for this team.
Hold on. Bernard's saying, "Oh God, Connor, no."
He doesn't like Nestor at all. And
all right, my bad. Sorry, dude. If it affects your day that I have an opinion that's divergent from yours, my bad, dude. I'm sorry.
There are a lot of fans on
Bernie
Twitter who cannot stand Nestor, understandably. But it is nice. Dude. Look, it is nice to acknowledge that he did have moments where he was.
Do you like Shelley Duncan? Anyone who's over the age of 27, do you like Shelley Duncan? Because he was never a good player, but he was a funny, interesting player to watch. Unlike Shelley Duncan, Nestor was an all-star, man. He had a great run with us, and I love underdogs, man. And so I'm not trying to tell you I think he should be on our roster right now.
No. I totally get what you're saying.
I'm talking to the chat right now. I'm not mad at you.
You can like a player who is gone, had bad moments, had good moments. I like Loizaga right now, and a lot of people are in my DMs and commenting on my shit saying change your Twitter name because he fucking sucks.
Well,
it's one of those things where everyone likes players who, if you like a player, he's eventually going to perform poorly. He'll eventually get shipped out, and you're going to have to pick a new player. So it's okay to acknowledge that you.
It hasn't happened yet. For me, it hasn't happened yet. I'm a Giancarlo Stanton head, so it hasn't happened for me yet. People have been, coming.
There was a lot of hate for Stanton for a while there, and it's gone away because he's proven himself countless times to get back into people's good graces. But you want to talk about a player who handles booze, handles the media, getting on his ass, handles, adversity, big moments. Giancarlo Stanton is bulletproof in those moments, and that's part of the reason why his name has been taken out of any discussion of, criticizing him. I mean, the only thing you can really say about him is he's one-dimensional. And he clogs up the DH spot.
No one asked. But speaking of handling booze, I'm gonna go grab an adult beverage. I'll be right back. Okay.
Handling booze, you go do that. Make sure you grab me one too. I might be across from the.
We're 3,000 miles apart, but I'll figure out a way to download it to you. Okay.
It's fine. I'll just upload it. But looking at, I'd see Chris talking about Weaver in there. Yeah, he was a completely underdog story, and I had a tweet very early when they acquired Luke Weaver. Shameless pat on the back here. I said, don't sleep on his stuff. Like the heater has life. His changeup was really, really good. And one thing the Yankees did with Luke Weaver is when he came over, they took his big leg kick away and they gave him maybe a little bit of an abbreviated kind of slide step kind of deal. So his mechanics could have been something that was making him inaccurate at the time, or, it could contribute to a lot of different things. But they made him more fastball, changeup, heavy. Took away some of those pitches that were causing him trouble in the past. I think he pitched in on the Reds, he pitched on the Mariners, but he was a changed man. So the Yankees got him in their building. They said, hey, look, these are the good pitches we like from you. Here's what we want you to focus on. We want you to cut down on that leg kick, and that's the beauty of what Matt Blake does sometimes. So when you can get a Duvall coming over that's maybe had some, a little bit of a hiccup every now and then, or you get a Bird from Colorado over here with maybe an ERA that's kind of low. Hey, kitten. you can get these guys in the building and you can trust that Matt Blake is going to break them down, see what their best pitches are to utilize them the most, and go from there. So it's very encouraging to see, a guy like Weaver come over and be that guy. And I think as he gets further and further away from that hamstring injury, like Bernard mentioned earlier, I think Luke Weaver is going to get even better. I was just talking about how, you get a guy like Weaver in the building. Okay, good. So, it's nice to have a guy like Luke Weaver come over and do that. And we're hoping that's going to happen with Bednar. We're going to hope it happens with Duvall. Hope it happens with Bird. We've seen it happen with Cruz already. So, if you think about this group we have now that you can bring in late in the game to hold a lead, keep a game close, it's very encouraging. And it's a tip of the cap to Cashman for doing something that was, something that a lot of us were doubting how much of an appetite he had to really go out there and, knock on all the doors, see who was available and make deals happen. So very exciting. I hope all the guys get there and we saw them all tomorrow. I want Duvall, Bird, and that cat to all pitch at the same time. And I want a warm welcome. But this is just this deadline has been so. What's the word here? It's just breathed more life into this fan base, where a lot of us were kind of getting concerned about this team's
the result of it,
ability to really compete.
Of it, I don't know about you. The experience of it was heart wrenching. I felt like
it's been ugly the last couple of months.
And
outside of this race series, but the race have been sucking lately.
I think in years past, I remember in 2021 there was some there was some debate, at least amongst fans, as to whether we'd even be sellers, similar to 2016, because we were in the midst of kind of making a nice little comeback, and we ended up going absolutely all in. And I think it was really fun that year, at least around this time of the year when that happened. But I think bigger picture, it's really frustrating for a lot of fans when it feels like the worse we do, the more chips we put in on the table this year, or sorry, this time of year. And it's like, boy, well, if we're good, we should try to be that much better.
Exactly.
Right. And that's the criticism, I think, that is somewhat valid. We were talking about it earlier with Cashman and his approach, where he feels like it does feel like he's managing for never having a losing season where we're not in it, as opposed to really going for broke and just saying we're strong and we're going to be even stronger for it. But I think this year it feels like a step in the right direction and kind of a middle point between saying, we have what we need, but we're going to make little tiny additions here, as opposed to kind of what we've seen. And you might call it, a perspective change. It might be how the chips fell and what was available, but we really targeted our biggest weakness in a way that is pretty much in line with everything at least you and I were asking for. So we're happy campers about that. But it is interesting thinking about it compared to other deadlines, and they no two are the same. That's for sure.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
I mean, looking back, last year we did get Jazz, which was nice, and he's been fantastic. Ever since they acquired him. But the bullpen was an issue. Can you bolster this thing? Can you make it better? They had a guy like a Jake Cousins who's gone now. They added Mark Leiter Jr., who didn't look that great. But did have some good moments in the playoffs, which is nice, but they didn't have enough. It feels like with how good this offense is now, with how much they've shored up the defense, putting McMahon at third, moving Jazz back to second, Trent Grisham or Bellinger playing center field, that's great. Slater and Dominguez can kind of, I wouldn't say a strict platoon, but there's going to be times where Slater's going to get some looks against lefties and he's going to pinch hit. And he's also a pretty good defender too. I think I looked at his defensive metrics, and Slater, I think, is a 0 or a +1 defensive run saved and a 0 or a +1 outs above average. So he can catch the ball, which is good. The defense has been shored up. The offense is great. The starting rotation is pretty solid. I know we don't have Garrett Cole. I know we don't have Clark Schmidt. But, if you can go Fried, Heel, Rodon in the playoff series, that's really good. And how deep this bullpen is now. You've got setup guys. You got middle relief guys. You got lefties. You got sinker guys. You got splitter guys. You got slider guys. You got changeup guys. You have a lot to choose from now. So there's really no excuse going forward for this team to not be one of the better teams in the American League and really give this thing a good run at getting back to the World Series. Texas is going to be tough. Houston's going to be tough. The Mariners are going to be tough. Boston might sneak in. We haven't played well against them. Toronto's been good. Detroit's been good. So it's a deep field. but we have what we need. I think we're still among one of the top 3 offenses in baseball, if not the first. So offense shouldn't be a problem. We are a little bit home run reliant, but we do have more athletes in the lineup now. You have more guys that make good contact. Ben Rice, Trent Grisham. McMahon's been making pretty good contact. Jazz has his ups and downs. He's kind of on a down right now, but he's got still like 800 OPS. Bellinger is not just a home run or nothing guy. He could slap the ball away. He could pull the ball in the gap. He can hit a homer. Stanton's been good. Judge will be back soon. So, this team is deep. They've got what they need on offense. They've got the defense. They've got everything covered. The bullpen's covered now. The rotation looks good. This is it. Cashman gave you what you need. You have versatility. You have flexibility. You have guys who can come up in big moments. You have everything. Aaron Boone's just got to put the pieces in the right, situations, and these players have to perform. That's one of the criticisms a lot of people, kind of pull out of their ass when people talk about Boone and they talk about Cashman is, they're not on the field. They're not at all. Well, the players got to do their thing. Well, in this instance, it's true. All of the tools are there now. You don't have a DJ LeMahieu holding you down. You don't have some of the, like a Donaldson and Aaron Hicks, like the guy that everyone always wanted DFA that's kind of, playing and shouldn't be. Those guys are gone. Everyone deserves to be playing where they're at. I know you're going to say, some people will say, plus us, we've been hard on Volpe too. He's been hitting better lately. The defense has to show up. But now you have a Caballero there. If Volpe keeps fucking up on defense, you can put Caballero at shortstop and he's going to make the plays. So you have everything you need now. You just got to go out and get it done. So this is what is going to make the American League playoffs so fun. It's going to make watching Yankee playoffs games so fun. The National League is super stacked now. Whoever wins a championship this season, it's going to be, I think, in my opinion, will be one of the most respected championships in recent memory, because all the teams who are competing went out to get pieces. They're all good. It's wide open on both sides, American League, National League. Whichever players show up and get the job done, it's going to be one of the most insane playoff runs to watch. And, everyone after a championship goes, oh, Mickey Mouse, oh, this player got hurt, oh, this team was down, oh, everyone's always got an excuse as to why the team that won and why it should be discredited or whatever. This year, there's none of that. Everyone is good. Everyone's there. Show up, play good baseball, and win a World Series. So I'm very excited about it.
I agree. What do you think about Correa going back to the Astros?
I think it's kind of cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
It gives you PTSD when you think about him in an Astros uniform again.
He sucks now, though, man. I'm excited to see him be bad in the Astros.
Tapping his watch and shit, saying,
he's really bad though. He's really not good, and so that's going to be fun.
Hurt a lot.
He's not good, man.
I think if he's more healthy, he can be better. But it's not the Correa that he was when he was, wreaking havoc on the Astros. So
he's bad.
The Astros wouldn't have done that if they didn't have I forgot his name. The third baseman they have, he got hurt or whatever. So he's gone. They had to add infielders and they needed to get healthier, quicker. Guys that can play multiple positions. Correa could play short. He could play third. They got Urias. I think he'll play third. Paredes is the one that got hurt.
Yeah, Isaac Paredes.
There was rumors they might have added Cease there to go along with Hunter Brown and Framber.
Yeah, thank God they didn't. I mean, I really hadn't thought of it in a minute. Sorry, someone said Connor, is Correa bad? Yeah, Correa's bad. Correa's not a good player.
That account says C. McGuire 58.
That's my mom.
Oh, okay. I was like, what?
That's why I was laughing. I
was like, are you commenting from a YouTube channel or something?
Yeah. Hey, Mom.
But Astros. If they would have got Cease, that would have. I mean, he struggled, but if he was like your 3-starter, throwing 97 plus with the stuff he has, and the Astros, sometimes they get these guys like a Charlie Morton in the past, or a Verlander or something, and they make them really good out of nowhere. So, it's kind of scary there, but it's deep. Hi, I see her say hi. And Jordan says, no more goalie versus right-handed pitchers, please. I am begging. It's one of those things where. He's Judge's friend. He's a better defender than Rice, and Boone respects him. So I think Goldie's going to keep facing right-handers as much as the numbers say to stop doing it. I think it's going to keep happening, which is unfortunate. But Ben Rice has to be in there. What do you think about Austin Wells' recent struggles? He's been getting a lot of shit lately. People are saying he should start getting booed the same way Volpe's been getting booed lately. What are your thoughts on Wells right now?
I think you have to rock with him because of what he means to the pitching staff. I think last night's base running blunder, he's very lucky to have escaped that without having to become a real New York Post style narrative.
That was bad.
But he took ownership of it. So we'll set that aside. The offensive struggles, I feel like, oh God, I mean, you kind of want it all with a guy like him because he's shown you his talent, and even to a degree that's like much higher than what we've seen from Volpe, because Volpe has been really streaky at times.
Yeah,
good and mostly bad, but like on average, pretty average. I think Austin Wells, when you grade him on a curve for being a catcher, you kind of dream on him a little bit, and there's times where it feels silly to even have this conversation. But with Ben Rice kind of being the specter there and being an option, especially with the platoon nightmares we have in terms of trying to get our best hitters in the lineup, if Austin Wells isn't that, I think you could see a few situations in the playoffs if he hasn't righted the ship by then, where you see Rice half the time.
Right.
But beyond that, I think you have to just lean on the fact that he'll figure it out, and he means a lot to the pitching staff, and he has been excellent as a defensive catcher. So
yeah, his framing is good, his defense is good. I think in terms of WAR, he's one of the top 5 to 7 catchers in the league right now. So the numbers, when you go look them up, are good. But there's always a but. No homo. So if you look at Wells and Volpe right now,
very similar. 700 OPS.
Yeah, Wells was getting a lot of credit. I was giving him a lot of credit. I think he has 25 home run potential, poolside to Yankee Stadium, all that. Volpe is hitting 217 now, which, I mean, oh my God, so good.
Yeah.
Wells is hitting 212. So what the hell happened there? And then you got Volpe at a 700 OPS now. Wells is now at 699. He's dropped under that, where Wells most of the year was 630-ish. So, he's been insanely streaky, more streaky than Volpe almost, I would say. And I think if Ben Rice continues to show that he is good enough defensively and can handle the pitching staff and can drop and block and can make the throws and can frame well, you might see a situation here where Rice kind of takes over that starting job, because at this point he just offers so much more offensively. If he can be somewhat close defensively.
How far away do you think we are from that point, though? Because I'll tell you what I think, but I want to get your take.
No, go for it. No, go for it.
No, I don't want to tarnish your opinion before
Okay, mine. I think maybe 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're a ways away from that even really being in the conversation for Rice to be the starter. He's looked nice though as a defender, and he's obviously a great bat.
Right.
And with the tools we have now, the depth we have, I think Austin Wells is a vibe guy at best if he continues how he's been hitting. But I think you base it on the fact that you can give him a little bit of a leash, because he's been better than this. I don't want to say that he's that much better than his numbers now, because they're pretty much in line with his numbers last year. But his peaks are pretty high, and for a catcher that is as good as he is defensively, I think you gotta rock with that in his second year.
Yeah.
It's funny you make the comparison. I think him and Volpe are low key in a very similar spot. Not publicly, not like in terms of what the opinions and the the way people talk about them. But I think when you look at the numbers, you can't argue with it. So I want to give a shout out to Jimmy Rendazzo in the chat right now. What's up, Jimmy? How's it going, man?
Oh, I didn't even realize that was him. What's going on, man? Nice to have you on here. I saw Alex mention that if Rice catches every day, his offensive numbers will go down. He's been so unlucky this year. I don't think that's the case. I think the more opportunity you give him to hit, those hard hit balls that end up being caught are going to start falling. I mean, I think Ben Rice's offensive potential, he's just scratching the surface on it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and make baseball savant little red and blue squares be the end all be all for every player. But the guy has been
especially not. Sorry, go ahead.
He's just been so. I mean, Bernard's going to laugh when I say this. He hates when I say this.
Forget about that guy.
Ben Rice has been very unlucky this year, incredibly unlucky. He crushes balls and they get caught. Guys are laying out. Like a ball just ends up, hits a ball 110 miles an hour and it's right at a guy. Like eventually those are gonna fall, because that's not going to continue, going forward. So if he keeps playing catcher and he's, the Yankees
his numbers will go down. I think to Alex's point, they would logically probably take a step back.
I mean, they already kind of have though. He's already the regression.
No, but I mean, adjusting for all that, I think you have to assume the workload will affect his offensive output. But what I want to point out is that, your point, JL, which is a really good one, I think, which is that you don't want to go full number bot on this stuff, because so many, in this conversation specifically, so much of this does come down to a lot of things you're not necessarily going to see on the stat sheet in terms of the impact this is going to have, not just how great Austin Wells is defensively, because he's no Johnny Bench, but the continuity factor and the way that bleeds into and impacts starting pitching and bullpen arms too. I think it's hard for us. We can only speculate as to what the opinions are of the front office and the coaching staff on that front. But broadly, I think there's a really good argument for kind of sticking with your guy at catcher, and looking at Ben Rice as like a really, really nice backup option who can play in other spots too. I don't see that changing unless Austin Wells gets hurt or totally disappears offensively.
Yeah. It's, and if Wells is at the downside of his, streaky up and down, that means there's a pretty high coming here pretty soon. So
yeah,
I mean,
looking forward to
as a big time Stanton fan yourself, you understand how that roller coaster works with some of these streaky guys.
Yep.
But I just think Ben Rice, when you're not in the lineup every day and you're getting spotty playing time, it's harder to be consistent and it's harder to get into a rhythm. If he was penciled in as the everyday catcher and he started, 4 games straight, 3 games straight, played 5 or 6 games out of 7, 5 out of 7, I think there's opportunity where some of those hard hit balls are going to start falling. And I think he can get in a rhythm and be even better offensively than we've already seen. I mean, we've seen the highs from him are, 1,000 OPS at some point. He's down to about 800, which is really freaking good for, 300 at bats that he's had. But where's he going to be at 500 at bats? Is he a 230 hitter or is he a 260 hitter? Is he 16 homers or is he going to end up with 25, almost 30? He's got the power for it. Our RBIs are, whatever. They're a very opportunistic stat. It depends on, who's on base in front of you when you get hits, whatever. But if the Yankees when Wells was coming up, were really down on his defense, and he's turned out to be a really good defender. So I think, they might be kind of going through the same thing with Ben Rice. The reason he didn't catch much was because they didn't trust him defensively. If he keeps catching and he keeps doing well defensively, catching wise, and all their metrics check out for what they want to see from him, I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility where in the playoffs, you need a better defender at first base than Paul Goldschmidt. So you're going to stick him there. Stanton's going to be DHing. Okay, who are you going to choose to play catcher? Do you trust Rice to catch in playoff games so you can get that offensive production from him? Or do you stick with Wells, who might be in a downturn, who is going to be a better defender? So it's going to be these next 2 months.
I don't disagree that it's I don't think it's outside the realm. I just think I do agree with your point of 4 to 6 weeks, which would be more shocking to me if Austin Wells really continued to have a downslope in his season for that long. And I look, for these kind of conversations, man, I like to think in terms of like, as a starting point, what will the people in charge do? And then I think, would I agree with that? And then if they surprise me, I kind of fall back on, well, they must have some rationale. And then I try to figure out what that is. If they tell you, that's great. If they don't, I decide if I agree with that. Because you'll go nuts just imagining like contingent plans in the future. If this happens, then what? And I just man, I just don't see Austin Wells coming off that starting job. I think it's exciting to think of if they all of a sudden just pull the trigger on that, what it would look like, or if Wells got hurt and all of a sudden Rice had to get like significant experience catching the entire rotation between now and October. I think you can get excited about that just as much as you get excited about Wells being awesome again. So I think it's look, these are all great problems to have, and I find it so funny and
with this team for sure.
Yeah, I said it's so funny when you hear guys talk about, like in the chat, people in general. I saw someone earlier. Sorry, I forget your name because I don't see it right now. But someone mentioned Yarborough. Like, what's going to happen with him? He's probably going to get DFA'd because there's
no. He's too valuable.
He's too valuable, but also like it's so funny to me because people are naturally pretty good at finding problems. When that's your problem, you are in a good spot. Finding a lane for Ryan Yarborough, you know what I mean? It's a good spot.
I think he's shown that he's very versatile, bullpen spot starter kind of guy. I mean, if maybe they want to limit Schlittler's innings, or maybe they want to put him in the bullpen or something. I think Yarbrough, you can tack him into the 5th spot in the rotation.
And I'm sure he's a good dude, but if he's pitching in a significant spot in October, I'm really fucking worried.
He's going to be a reliever in October. He's going to be a reliever.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to come in for mop-up duty. And also it's great to have a guy like him because he can be a spot starter in September if there's an injury or we need to give guys rest. So
I think he's going to be the second lefty after Tim Hill. I don't think Hedrick will be around.
As long as he's within our reach for when we need him,
he'll be a matchup guy.
I'm not worried about whether he's going to get. I'm not his agent. I don't care whether he gets enough run to show off his stuff for next year.
And he's a professional. I mean, Yarbrough's done the versatile bullpen / starter role before. He knows he throws soft. He knows what his job is. So it's not a problem of convincing.
And he wants to be a Yankee too. He also the fact that the Yankees didn't just offer him a minor league deal with the potential for being a major leaguer meant something to him. He took less money to come here. He could have gone to Toronto. He would have had a better chance of being a starter to start that season. And he came here because I think he obviously financially it's better to have guaranteed major league contract money. Yeah. But also, given that, I think you earn loyalty that way as an organization. So for a guy like him, I'm not worried about him. I am worried about what we do with Stroman because of the money. And if Stroman, if we're better off DFAing a Stroman and keeping a Yarbrough, keeping them lengthened, then do we have the cojones to do it, despite the fact that Stroman's going to be dead money, significant dead money? That's what I worry about, that angle. And I think that was kind of in line with that guy's question.
Well, haven't they paid? I mean, there's only 2 months left. Haven't they paid most of what Stroman's probably going to get already? I mean, 2 months of pay, is that worth? I don't know how major leaguers get paid. I don't know if it's prorated. I don't know if there's deferrals. I don't know how major leaguers get paid. But if he's gone most of the season, you've paid most of the money already. I mean, you can DFA him and just eat the rest. I mean, 2 months worth of pay. He's going to be inactive in the playoffs anyway. So there's really not. There's too many arms now.
He has a conditional player option for next season.
What?
And I don't know the details, and it makes me very nervous to see that. It'd be great.
Does he have another guaranteed year?
Someone in the chat could do a little research for us so we don't get because if we do it, we'll be really, really boring. And if we'll stop talking for a minute. So if one of you guys out there could find out some of the details, broad strokes about the conditional player option for next year in Stroman's contract and put it in the chat, that would be awesome.
I think he's done after this year, but like you said, these are problems. He's not going to sniff the playoffs. He's not, on a team where there's a lot of options. The 2026 conditional player option. It kicks in if he throws 140 innings. So we're good on that.
Okay, perfect. So as long as we don't do that threshold.
Yeah.
Bernie said not enough innings pitched. Yeah.
Yeah, 2026 player option kicks in with 140.
Yeah, thanks, Bernard. I appreciate that, man.
He's not getting that.
Bernard, for that, you've earned the right to not call you Bernie anymore.
No, he likes Bernie.
My bad.
No, he's good. He's good. No, I didn't even see his comment.
Shut up, Bernie. Bernie's the man. Appreciate you, bro.
No, he really is.
Even though you hate the concept of even though you hate the fact that we say players are unlucky and lucky, we still.
He doesn't like Soto very much, and when all the conversations were going around about how Juan Soto's been hitting the ball real hard, and his savant page looks crazy, and he's been very unlucky. He wasn't
last year.
This year, he wasn't very happy with that.
We don't care if he doesn't like Soto. That's okay.
But I mean,
you're in a safe space here, Bernie.
Soto is not a Yankee problem anymore, so not a big deal there.
Speaking of dead money, what?
But okay, so looking at the schedule coming up, the rest of this month's pretty much over. So they're going to have Miami tomorrow through Sunday. Then you got Texas, who just added some good players. I believe they got Colombe, or I don't know how you say his name, from the Twins, that lefty reliever.
Colombe.
I think they got Phil Maton as well. So they have bolstered their bullpen. We know the offense usually isn't the problem there. Corey Seager is tough. They got Kelly, Eovaldi, DeGrom. That's going to be a really fun series, and that's going to be at home. No, that'll be away. So they're at Miami, they're at Texas, then they're going to come home and they're going to play Houston. So Miami's been a team lately that's been pretty hot. I would say they've been playing well. Not going to be an easy series. So some of the Yankees are going to get some of these guys in the building that they traded for. We'll see when they all make their debuts. I mean, it's going to be something we're going to be watching very closely. But the deadline's over. Now everyone's looking past it. We're looking towards October, and this last 2 months is going to be absolute mayhem. There's a lot of teams that are in it. Texas is in it. Houston's in it. Boston is coming up. They're in it. But there are pockets this month or into August where you're going to get Minnesota, who just sold the farm.
You know what Boston's not in on though right now, right? What's Boston not in on? Joe Ryan.
Joe Ryan.
Any Boston fans in the chat, eat shit.
They got Dustin May, who we hope does not figure things out and keeps struggling. And I say that with the most.
I'd be excited if we got Dustin May. I would be, honestly.
I was interested to see how he was going to fit with Matt Blake and see what they were going to turn him into. But
if I'm being honest about it,
the Red Sox also added Steven Matz. So there you go. They really didn't do a ton, but their team before they made any moves was still beating us up pretty good. We made some moves that made our team significantly better. So it's going to be nice to see. I don't think we're done with the Blue Jays the rest of the year, right? No, we got Toronto one more time in September. But you're going to have to beat Boston. You're going to have to beat Toronto, not only to finish the season, but if you face them in the playoffs, the losing record against them stuff has to stop. You got to beat these teams. You got to start taking it real serious. You got the pieces now to do it. No excuses the rest of the way.
Yeah, man. I think it's time for us to get fired up as Yankee fans and show up in full force at the stadium whenever we can, and cheer our guys on, man. Because we've had a tough go of it the last couple months.
Oh yeah.
And I think we're setting up nicely for a little bit of bounce back, personnel wise, but also just vibes wise, and
oh yeah,
it's due. And people don't even realize there's certain guys we're still getting on because the vibes have been so bad that are kind of turning the corner. At least.
What did you just say? You say they're turning the corner.
There's certain guys that are turning the corner.
Is it right in front of us?
They already turned the corner. No, hey, look. I mean, you're familiarized with Volpe's performance the last couple of weeks, right? Offensively, at least.
He's been hitting everything.
Okay, so that's what happens when you're the scapegoat. People don't care. If you're on TV making errors pretty much every night, no one's going to be talking about your 900 OPS in the last 4 weeks. No one. So get used to it. But winning as a
shortstop, defense is very important at shortstop. So you can keep he's going to keep getting booed if he keeps throwing the ball in the dirt.
He had a couple nice ones today. He had a couple nice ones today, man.
I stopped watching after the rain delay, but
right. No, kind of throwing it and a couple turns with Jazz. One big double play with Jazz where his arm looked strong.
I saw that one. That was a good throw.
I want to see him get a bit more aggressive with the hops and be coming forward more on balls that are not ones that are gettable in front of you. I want to see his aggression and moving forward. I think it's going to help him with the throws. I think it's going to help him with the awkward hops. And I think it's a good indicator as to whether it's mental or physical when he starts doing that. Because we've seen him be we've seen him be a great defensive shortstop. The arm is concerning. If it is physical, we're in trouble. If it's mental, hopefully he rights the ship. But I mean, right now, hitting wise, I mean, he's been hitting fastballs again, 4-seam fastballs, which is good to see. Because for a while there, it looked like he couldn't do it. You don't like that.
It's one of those things where he's such a puzzling player right now. I think there was a stat where he's hit 6 homers in the last whatever games, but he's also had 5 or 6 errors as well. And someone put up the Jameis.
I'll take it, man. I'll take that.
Someone put up
a homer for every error he hits.
Someone put up the Jameis Winston graphic where he threw 30 touchdowns but threw 30 picks as well. So they're Volpe is going to be the next Jameis Winston, 30 for 30. But we don't.
What if I told you?
We're not hard on the guy because we want him to not be successful. We expected him to be a certain way out of the minors. We expected a certain level of production. They passed on guys like Corey Seager and Correa at the time, and Trey Turner and these different options who were very enticing, going to be expensive, but you know what you're going to get with them. Except for Correa, he's been made of glass. But, passing up on those guys, giving it all up to Volpe, giving him the free run, letting, Golden Child, kid from Jersey, chicken parm, all the bullshit. That's all of those things was part of the, hyping. Oh, he met Jeter when he was a kid. All the things that came with Volpe coming up and getting everyone excited. And he's kind of fallen flat in his face until the last couple of weeks. So, it's nice to see him. It's nice to see him start to figure things out at the plate, but it sucks that the defense has regressed so much because, he was hyped up as a guy who can do both. the arm wasn't great, but good instincts, good range. Get the balls, knock the ball down, keep it in the infield, keep it run from scoring, those kind of things. The last 6 weeks have been good. He did have the World Series Grand Slam, but at that point, the World Series was already over. He's been very streaky. He did win the Gold Glove, but we wanted to see the bat because the Yankees shortstop. Everyone thinks about Derek Jeter. Even Didi Gregorius could play some pretty good defense and he hit. So for this kid to, Volpe, I think in Double-A was one of the better offensive prospects in all of baseball. He won some award for, not just shortstop, all prospects. So he was doing things that were very exciting in terms of expecting him to come up here and do the same things offensively. And we've seen spurts of it. We see the power that he has right now. It's been really exciting. I mean, especially pulling balls. But how about this? The longest home run of his career, 450, whatever the hell feet it was, to the opposite field off the Toyota sign over the bullpen. Grown men do that. And Volpe is not a big dude. Like, this is a 5'10", maybe 170, 180-pound guy. To go up a 450.
I want to remind everybody what it was like watching him ascend the minor leagues. And I want everyone to really ask themselves, honestly, what's the difference between that and what we're seeing with Spencer Jones? There's very little difference other than them physically, right? But the way you could dream on Volpe back then, you thought he'd be the second coming of Mookie Betts playing shortstop, right, with that opposite field power and everything we heard about the glove and everything. And that's all still there. I just don't think we can bank on the consistency. And what we want is for those moments to be there, for those streaks to be there, and we want the floor to come up.
Yes.
We want the mistakes to be minimized. We don't need him to be that all the time. We just need a little bit more consistency, and then we can really live with the highs and the lows with a new floor.
Yes.
That's really all we're asking for.
The floor cannot be a 110 hitter anymore.
Yeah. Even for a month.
Right.
He's not Giancarlo Stanton. He's not carrying the team offensively.
And the point everyone brings up is he's usually better after breaks. He needs days off. I mean, the guy's in his early 20s.
Well, hey, we got a little bit of depth there at shortstop now.
And this might put a little. I mean, he knows he's the golden child.
Get it back on the deadline conversation.
He knows.
What do you think of the Rays shortstop that we just acquired, or the Rays infield
I think
utility
he's
guy?
Going to be a good backup player. I think he's got good speed. I think he's got a good glove. He's going to give you some options in terms of God forbid, knock on wood, Volpe gets hurt. Now you have a backup shortstop and it's not Oswald Peraza. So, it's part of just them addressing the bench, getting the bench deeper, having more versatility at key spots. Now you have options at third base. You have options in left field. You have guys who can hit lefties. You have guys that can come in and play defense late in the game to be a defensive substitution. So those are good things. But, the thing with Volpe, it's like, comparing him to Spencer Jones. So there is some comparison in terms of, everyone's got high expectations for him. The offense, looks phenomenal. Everyone's going to expect that when he comes up. If it is not close to what it was in the minors, everyone's going to get pissed off. But there was a moment where Spencer Jones's value tanked completely. Everyone talked about he was, oh my God, you missed the opportunity to trade him when his value was high. Now he sucks. Now he's striking out 35% of the time in the minors. He's a shit prospect, whatever. Now he's come back up into the good graces and he's hitting home runs. He's made some mechanical adjustments. He's opened up his stance like crazy. And it's kind of like, oh shit. Now he's back to being, the guy we hoped he was going to be. So, it's going to be, I think Volpe had a lot more expectations because he was always the top guy. He was the guy they wouldn't trade for Luis Castillo. He was, the next shortstop for the next 10 to 15 years. Like, he was the guy. Like, there was no question about it. With Spencer Jones, there was question at some point in time. Now he's kind of back into the good graces and he's, God's gift to baseball. He's untouchable, blah, blah, blah. And I'm a big keep Spencer Jones guy, so I'm glad they did that. I think he's going to have a crazy impact on this team when he finally does come up. But, like you said, Volpe's floor needs to come up. He needs to get more consistent. Everyone likes to talk about, how him pulling the ball is to his strength, to his advantage. All the metrics say that he's a better player, a better offensive player when he's pulling the ball in the air. And I'm not disputing that at all. I think go for it when it's there. Don't take an outside fastball or an outside pitch and try to pull it and you roll a ground ball over to third base. I think when you can pull a ball, if you're out front on a breaking ball and you hook barrel, cool. Fastball in, cool. Hanging breaking ball, fastball up in the zone, pull it out, cool. but it was really nice to see him hit that away pitch hit it where it's pitched. The ball was away. He went with it, pulled it, didn't pull it. He pushed it to the right side. Not really push, but he went oppo. Hit it off the Toyota sign for 450. So if he can do both things at the same time, it's one of those things where people think, oh, if he's got an approach where he can go oppo, that means he's not pulling the ball anymore. You can do both. It just depends on your approach when you're at the plate. If you're going to get an outside pitch and go with it and, hit it the other way, awesome. If you're going to get an inside pitch, pull it, cool. So if you can do both of those things, there's been debate about him lifting too much, having too much, too much of a launch angle guy, not flattening out enough, blah, blah. There's been a lot of debate
about
that.
Strike approach is the biggest criticism for me there. I think it's okay to do that, but if 2 strikes, so that's what you're doing, and you're missing fastballs by a foot, we've seen it a few times. It's frustrating. But can't have that.
But if he can go oppo when it's there, which is something that helps you with 2 strikes, you might get a breaking ball away that stays a little bit up, or you might get
honestly, here's the thing. That approach will help you
go with it.
Yeah, that approach will help you pull the ball too.
100%. And pull comes naturally, though.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
When you see pros take batting practice, especially the good ones like Pujols, A-Rod back in the day, I used to watch him hit batting practice all the time. They're hitting low line drives to center field and the right field. They're going oppo. They're working on line drives. Pull side, they don't even think about that until the very last round where they pull a few homers out just to give the fans something to say ooh and ah about. But pull side comes naturally for these guys. It's harder to have the middle oppo approach and be able to do that on purpose rather than just being late or getting beat and it just happens on accident. If you can do both, that's awesome. We're going to throw the Derek Jeter name around. He could pull a ball out, but he also had that inside-out swing where he could go the other way when needed. 2 strikes, he can shorten up. He can punch the ball over the first baseman's head for a double. I mean, those are the type of things Volpe is capable of doing. We're seeing the pull side homer. We saw 450 oppo. If he can do both and, adjust his approach to where both things are very possible, maybe that floor does come up. Maybe it's just an approach thing. Maybe he just needs to get a little bit older and mature and get more experience. Who the hell knows? But we're in a position where the offense is not a problem. We need him to play better defense.
Yeah. By the way, can you see my screen? I'm trying to share something right now. You can't see it, I'm guessing.
No, I can't see it.
It's weird. All right. Well, that's okay. It's saying that I'm sharing it, but
I saw your comment about Caballero, but Rivan says if we could just get to 250 for Volpe, I'd be ecstatic.
Talking batting average or career home runs there?
Batting. Career home runs. That is a good one, but
I think they're each as likely as each other. I don't think that we're expecting that at all. I think we want an on base over 320. Because next, I just checked this out. On base percentage for Jose Caballero right now. Can you guess top of your head?
280.
328.
Damn. Okay.
What about our friend Anthony from Jersey?
Under 300.
285. Now he slugs better, and the defense is probably more consistent from an all-time full-time shortstop. You got it?
Yep.
Awesome. So here we go. Just broad strokes, 328 OBP. Now look at the OPS. I think you like Volpe there a little bit better, but yeah, by a pretty big margin. But if what you value is average, and through gratis to that, you value on base percentage, I mean, you got a guy with an advantage of about 30 points on this guy on the roster. Is there going to be, not to be too much of a hot take spin, but is there going to be a similar conversation to one we just had about Austin Wells and Ben Rice at some point if we don't see a continuation of Volpe's recent resurgence?
I mean, it's a very fair question to ask. It kind of feels like he got that break at the All-Star break. We're seeing the hot streak that everyone somewhat expected after he had time off. When does it stop? And how, like you were talking about the floor, how far is the floor on this thing? Can he maintain this at least a little bit going forward? Can he have a great 2 months into the playoffs and get back in the fans' good graces? Caballero at this point would be a better defensive shortstop. But the Yankees have given him the key.
You really think so? You think so?
I think so. Caballero?
I don't know. I think obviously he's better than what Volpe's given us.
Right.
But I'm not sure I'm confident in that assertion, like it's a foregone conclusion, but maybe you feel differently.
I mean, he's not gonna be given the keys to the shortstop car like Volpe has.
Do you think it's a plus when he's in there in the games where he plays shortstop? You think it's a plus defensively?
Caballero?
Yeah.
I think it would be.
Okay. Certainly with the errors the last few months, absolutely. But I just mean
he doesn't offer much offensively. I know the OBP was good, but the power threat that Volpe's been showing lately.
He's definitely faster than
the slug.
He's a better base stealer than Volpe, which is saying a lot.
But I think Volpe the last like 7 games or something was slugging like 500, 700 or something crazy. Like his power right now is stupid.
It's
obviously not gonna keep up. It's gonna come back down. But when you got Caballero in there, you don't really have that power threat that Volpe's offering right now. So maybe they're hoping, the more Volpe plays, the more reps he gets, you can kind of work things out, work on some things behind the scenes and kind of continue to have this ability to hit for power, especially if he's hitting out of the 9 hole. It's going to be a situation where if he can just get on base and set the table for the top of the order, that would be great.
He can lay a bunt down as well as Trent Grisham can lay a bunt down.
Yeah, he's got some speed. We know he does the double hop kind of thing. But so I was looking at Caballero's career as a shortstop, about 1,000 innings. He's got 2 defensive runs saved and 7 outs above average. So he's, an above average. Cat is getting into the leaves there. So Caballero is an above average defender there. Volpe, I doubt is, close to that, but I don't think, they've given him the keys to the car. He's the Yankee shortstop. They've anointed him that. He's the golden child. They're not going to put Caballero. They're not going to take that away from him and give it to Caballero. So
I agree.
He's got the job security, and that's just how things are going to go going forward for Volpe. So at this point, we're looking forward to the playoffs. Assuming the Yankees do the Yankees still are very well within range to win the division, especially with how they're scheduled down the line. They're going to face the Twins a few times and the Orioles, who got rid of O'Hearn and they're not playing that well. So it's going to be one of those things. Do you think the Yankees do you think they can finish the job and win the division? Do you think they're going to be a top wild card? Do you think they can be one of the top 2 seeds in the league? Who's their biggest competition that you're worried about? Like, what are your thoughts in terms of the broad spectrum of the whole American League situation in the American League East?
I think we can win the division. I think we have about 3 weeks to let ourselves and the world know whether we're going to. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. I'm worried about Toronto. I'm a little worried about Boston, but not as much today. I think they didn't do anything that scares me as much as, in terms of the deadline, as much as I'm just already scared of Toronto.
Right.
Or concerned about Toronto. But I do think we have an opportunity to, in the next 3 weeks, really put our stamp on this division by taking a lead. But if we don't have a lead by then, you start rationalizing and, balancing a few things in terms of, what if we do have to play a play-in series? And that gets me worried.
Tough.
With the way we're constructed. I think our strengths are better suited for a 5-game or 7-game series. And so anything short of that, winning the division, that is, really very much concerns me. So a lot's riding on these next 3 weeks, and I feel very, very good about at least the quality of baseball I'm hoping to watch from this team versus what we've seen in the last 2 to 4 weeks or longer.
Right.
So as a fan, I think this is going to be a really, really exciting time of the season. Or it could be a real downer. I'd bet on the former. I bet on us really showing up and riding the ship here. And hopefully by that time, call it 3 to 4 weeks, having a more than just a half game lead. I'd like for us to be by the end of next month, able to maybe rest a few guys in the bullpen and so on and so forth. And we're talking anything more north of 3.5 by August. Let's say August 25th. That's us completely fulfilling and executing our plan. Right. And anything short of that, you start worrying. So I don't think that's unrealistic or unreasonable, man. I think that's probably what they expect from themselves. So,
I mean,
very possible.
I think the AL East is obviously still within reach. They're only 3.5 back at Toronto. And they have, the Yankees have made some great additions, but Toronto has as well. They did add Varland from the Twins. He's been in about 50 games. He's got an ERA about 2. about a strikeout per inning. So that's a good option there. They added Sir Anthony Dominguez. They are getting what's his face Santander back soon. So the Blue Jays are competing. They traded for Shane Bieber, who has been rehabbing. So he's kind of a coin flip there. You don't really know what you're going to get. Ty France, who's a serviceable major league player. So they added some pieces. We added some pieces. It's going to be interesting to see if they can compete with how much winning I think we're going to do based on a softer end of year schedule. The Yankees are going to have a lot of Twins games, Nationals.
Twins got worse.
Yeah, they sold the whole outside of Joe Ryan. They sold basically the whole farm. So those are games you expect to sweep that. But the Yankees are going to have to take these games down the stretch seriously. You got 2 months. You got to outplay the Blue Jays. You got to overcome this 3.5 game deficit. And you got to pass them and get comfortable. But if you look at this wild card mix, it's very tight as well. Cleveland's going to fall out. I'm assuming. I don't think they're really a contender, but you got Texas, Seattle, Boston, and the Yankees all in the wild card picture right now. So those are probably going to be the cream of the crop. The Royals did have a couple players.
Absolutely. And Cleveland were sellers, right? I mean, they shipped Bieber and they shipped they ended up shipping Kwan.
They should have shipped Kwan out, but I don't think I think it was kind of a soft sell. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team. Looking at the teams that are in the mix right now.
There's a lot of competition in the AL again. I mean, I think it was a very easy talking point for a while, talking about the advantage the NL had over the AL and how soft it was last year. I think that's completely switched. Not switched, but I think it's changed. I think the AL is a lot scarier than it was just even, and it's gotten scarier at the deadline. Honestly, I think there was a big talent shift just in the last couple of days. I think what was true last year isn't true now. And I think in April we were talking, the Tigers were our only real competition. I think you've added about 3 or 4 teams to that list. So.
I mean, looking at it, the AL is 7 deep. I mean, you got Detroit, Toronto, Houston, Yankees, Boston, Seattle, Texas, and any one of those can beat the other. Like, there's none of these teams stand out drastically where you're like, oh, they're head and shoulders with everyone else. And if you look at the overall standings in the American League, the Yankees are only 3.5 back of Toronto, who holds the best record in the American League this far. So they can still work their way into being one of those top seeds and not have to play that play-in wild card series. If you can win a division, you could be a top 2 seed. I think that's going to do a lot for them in terms of maybe getting some guys rest and prioritizing going into the division series fresh. So, there is something on the line here. It's not, they're not just comfortable at the top of the division and kind of coast into the playoffs. They're going to have to fight for this. And every game, even against bad teams, is going to be important. Boone is going to have to make the right calls on the bullpen budget. Who's available, who's not available, who can go multiple innings, who can go back-to-back days, who can go 3 days in a row. Are you going to keep platooning Rice and Goldschmidt at first, or are you going to play Rice against more right-handers? I mean, shit is going to count here. Shit is getting very serious after this deadline. There's nothing left to look forward to in terms of what's the team going to look like. You got the pieces. The trades have been made. The team is set. The offense is good. The pitching's been fixed. You got to get it done. You got to win baseball games. You got to use these guys in situations where they're going to have success. And you got to be a top 2 seed. So you got to have to outpace Toronto, Detroit, and Houston, which is going to be tough. But if you look at the run differentials, the Yankees have the best run differential of all 4 of those teams. So if the pitching gets better, the bullpen gets better, the offense stays good, the Yankees can absolutely be one of the top 2 seeds in the American League, and they can absolutely win the division and make some noise in the playoffs. So, there's a lot to look forward to with, these next 2 months. It's going to go fast. There's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be a lot of, probably some painful moments, probably some very exciting moments. It's going to be a mix.
Assuredly. Yeah. I mean, I think Yankee fans have a lot to be optimistic about, and they got to go out and play the games, man. And we're going to watch, and we'll be powerlessly watching and just willing those guys on. I think what I'm really pumped about is like just seeing some of those new arms coming out of the bullpen in high leverage situations and shut the door.
Yeah,
with a lead. That's what it's going to be. A bird, because that's gonna fire up the boys and get the offense going too. Feeling like when they get a lead late, it's
you can hold it.
Yeah,
that's big time. I mean, not only for the team morale, but for the fans. I mean, you can, we were getting leads recently, and you'd get into the 6th inning or so, 7th inning, and you're kind of like, Hamilton's coming in, Loizaga, can he pitch well? So you're kind of like, I don't know if we can keep this lead. So it's hard to get super excited. But I think that these bullpen moves have given the team and the fans confidence going forward to where they can really get behind this team and expect them to do really good things. I mean, there's no more, this team can't compete, they're not a World Series contender, they're underwhelming, this and that. We've gone from fire Cashman, Boone to holy shit, we got what we need. Go win a World Series. Like the expectations just got ratcheted up 10 times because all the holes are filled. Everything has been addressed. There's no more excuses. There's no more, we don't have enough. Every facet of the team has gotten better. The offense has been really good.
So right there in front of us.
We're right around the corner. It's right there in front of us. Got to pound the table. But just looking at the September schedule really quick before we head out here. So obviously that's 1 month until things are going to be settled. The division is going to be on the line. The wild card is going to be on the line. September starts with 3 in Houston, 3 against Toronto at home, 3 against Detroit at home, and then 3 against Boston at Fenway. So that is going to be a test to start September. You got 4 straight series against playoff contenders. Then after that, things kind of taper off. You're going to have Minnesota for 3. Minnesota for 3, Baltimore for 4. Should be winnable games. Chicago White Sox for 3, and then you finish the year against 3 against Baltimore.
Are they in Baltimore or in the Bronx?
Let's see. You're finishing the season at home against Baltimore. They're going to have 6 straight to finish the season. 3 against the White Sox, 3 against Baltimore. So that month of September is going to start out really tough. If they can tread water and be maybe 500, a couple games over in that span of games, you're going to get a very favorable end of the season there. So, it's going to be a situation where if you can just tread water early, stay close, keep things status quo in terms of your standings, you have a really good opportunity to win out, or have a really good record to finish the year. Pretty much going from September 18th all the way through the 28th. You got a 10-day span where you can win almost every game. So it's going to be very exciting to see how all of that plays out. But overall, very exciting day. The bullpen's been addressed. We got Camilo Duvall, a flamethrower. We've got good defenders. We got McMahon. We got depth. Everything's been addressed. You got any final words before we head out?
Go win the damn thing. Go play up to your billing. Everyone, because now's the time, man. It's time to go.
Yeah, 100%. Someone, Ravon is saying Hamilton got optioned to AAA.
Yeah, he had 1 option left. That was going to happen, either him or De Los Santos, right? And so after De Los Santos got burned for 2+ innings today, I thought it was going to be him for sure. Yeah. But I think they liked what they saw from De Los Santos, man.
Yeah, there's going to be a logjam. I mean, they're adding arms. They added arms. Guys are coming back from injury, so it's going to be interesting to see who makes the final cut in terms of the group they want to go forward with.
They both got sent down. It turns out that both those guys got optioned down.
Both of them got sent down. Interesting.
I think you'll see De Los Santos back faster because I think, again, it's more like they're going to call his arm's good up for some reinforcements because he can't pitch for at least 2-3 days. So
yeah, so that's just solely a usage kind of deal. But
yeah,
I mean, I think you said it well. Everything's been addressed. We're very excited to see how these new pieces fit in. I think they're going to be really good. I think there's no more excuses. It's time to go out, win a World Series, go compete. The American League is deep. It's going to be tough, but we have what's considered the best offense in baseball, so that's going to be a big advantage. We've got enough pitching. The bullpen can do its job as well. So go out there and get it.
Go get another one of these things. Wait.
Go get one of those damn things.
Get it in focus. Anyway.
There you go. I got the Jazz shirt on today. You know how it is. Need him to heat up a little bit. But, yeah, deep team, very excited. It's been a good show. It's been an exciting trade deadline day. This was better than expected. So many big names got moved to a lot of different teams. One of the most exciting trade deadlines I can remember. So very fun period of time. It's going to be a little bit of a, everyone's going to come back down to earth a little bit. Adrenaline's not pumping anymore. It's time to, zero in, refocus tomorrow. You're in Miami. You're facing a team that's been very pesky lately. Time to focus, win a baseball game, and see how these last 2 months go before the playoffs. But
yeah, let's go rock those pitchers we didn't get, huh? The ones we wanted.
Yeah. I don't know who the hell they're facing, but it would be interesting if they face Cabrera and
Sandy. They're going to see Sandy, man, for sure. So yeah,
wouldn't it be funny if by some very strange kind of scenario. Spencer Jones came up and hit a bomb off Sandy or something. That would be so funny. He'd be like, I told you should have kept them. I told you. But all right, guys, thank you all for being so engaging in the chat today. Thank you,
everybody.
Bernard. Thank you, everybody. Gina, Colleen, everybody was so great today.
Gina, Bernard, Reven, Nick,
Ravon, Nick, everybody. Alex, everybody was great. We appreciate you guys being in here. This will probably be a once a week,
Ethan.
Every kind of thing. We'll have Connor on often. So we love having you guys in there and contributing. We like how you guys help us move the conversation, and we like, talking baseball and having some fun and doing this together. So thank you guys for being here. Great trade deadline day. We will see how the Yankees do in Miami tomorrow. And until the next show, we will see you guys next time. Go Yankees.
Go Yanks.
Peace.